already done so, please open your Bibles to the 4th chapter of Paul's letter to the church at Ephesus. Heard the old expression, a sight for sore eyes. Well, we have a sight for sore eyes this morning, being able to be here. When I looked up and saw her, I could not believe it that she didn't come in with tan. Now, Bill's already touched on that, but I can remember back when Jean had this surgery. She used that cane for a good long while, but it is so good to have her with us this morning, and glad everything's going well. Ephesians chapter 4, let's begin reading at verse 11. Paul writes, and he himself, that is Christ, gave some to be apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers. Why? For the equipping of the saints, for the work of ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ, till we all come to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to a perfect man, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. That we should no longer be children, tossed to and fro, and carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the trickery of men and the cunning craftiness of a deceitful life. But speaking the truth in love, may grow up in all things into him who is the head, Christ, from whom the whole body, joined and knit together by what every joint supplies, according to the effective working by which every part does its share, causes growth of the body for the edifying of itself in love. I think this passage is so rich in what it teaches that we probably could preach a month's worth of sermons on it and still not exhaust the information that is there. I think the primary aim of this passage is to demonstrate the importance of spiritual growth. Spiritual growth was a great need in the early days of the church, in the infancy of the church, when everything was new. And people needed to understand what they should do in order to grow spiritually. So it was a great need then, but it is just as great now. People, we must understand. If there's one thing that we get from this whole lesson this morning, let us understand that we cannot please God if we're not growing spiritually. When children come into the world, we're very concerned about their physical growth. I can remember that. I remember when ours came along, we wanted to make sure that they ate the proper food. And I don't know whether they still do it or not. Back then, we had to give kids vitamins. We want to make sure we gave them their vitamins, and that they got their exercise, and that they go to the doctors frequently and get their shots, you know, this kind of thing. And all that was good because we wanted them to grow and develop physically. But since spiritual growth is infinitely more important than physical growth, shouldn't we be just as concerned, or even more so, with our spiritual growth and development? I think any person worthy of the name Christian should have a great desire to grow spiritually, to make himself better able to serve God to the absolute fullest. And as we look at the verses that we just read a minute ago, I think that we can see the things that are involved in Christian and spiritual maturity. And look at what he said. He refers to character. He talks about for the equipping or the perfecting of the saints, making one what he should be. Then he talks about service, for the work of ministry or the work of service, ministering to those who have needs. Then he talks about edification, for the edifying of the body of Christ. That word edifying simply means building up or strengthening, and we certainly need that, do we not? Then he talks about unity, till we all come to the unity of the faith. Then we reach maturity, unto, as he says, a perfect or a full-grown man, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. And the means of achieving these things are recorded in verses 15 and 16 of this passage that we read just a minute ago. So the purpose of our lesson this morning is to study the things that are necessary for spiritual growth, those things that lead to perfection. And I've entitled this, The 5 C's of Spiritual Growth. And you'll understand why as we develop the lesson. The first C that we want to talk about is conviction. Our word conviction has a variety of meanings. It means to convince of truth, and we're going to see that demonstrated. It means to convict of sin. We're going to see that demonstrated. And it means to persuade to duty, and we're going to see that demonstrated. Please look at the early church. You remember, it was the first Pentecost after the death of Christ. The Holy Spirit had descended upon the apostles, and they began to speak in languages that they had not heard. The apostle Peter stood and began to speak that first gospel sermon that we have recorded there. And I want you to notice what he says to the people. Look at Acts chapter 2, beginning at verse 22. You might not expect this to come in the first gospel sermon. Peter is taking these people to task. He says, "Men of Israel, hear these words. Jesus of Nazareth, a man attested by God to you by miracles, wonders, and signs, which God did through him in your midst, as you yourselves also know." You know the kind of life that this man lived. You know what this man did. You know what he did for you. You know about all the miracles that he did. But notice verse 23. Him being delivered by the determined purpose. These people had a definite, determined purpose in mind. They were going to put the Son of God to death. He says, being delivered by the determined purpose and foreknowledge of God, you have taken by lawless hands, have crucified and put to death, whom God raised up, having loosed the things of death, because it was not possible that he should be held by it. That's what you have done. Now notice over verse 32. This Jesus God has raised up, of which we are all witnesses. Therefore, being exalted to the right hand of God, and having received from the Father the promise of the Holy Spirit, he poured out this which you see, and which you now see and hear. When the people heard this argument of Peter, that was supported by clear evidence, they could not deny one thing that Peter had said. They were cut to the heart. They were convicted of truth. They were convicted of their sin, of crucifying the Son of God. Their hearts were touched, and their conviction resulted in a deep and searching faith. We're going to talk about it in just a minute. I guess we might refer to this as rugged conviction. That manifested itself in the early days of the church, that implicit faith. People, that is something that is desperately needed in the lives of Christians today. This conviction that we're talking about is a driving, dynamic, motivating force in our lives and in our character. You know, I think it's impossible to have strong character as a Christian and weak convictions. Have you ever tried to swing an axe that the head would lose on? You can't swing it very hard, can you? Why? Because you're not sure what's going to happen. So you cannot strike a solid blow. The same thing is true in trying to have strong character and weak convictions. Now, conviction is a duty. It is a duty that is so often emphasized in the Scriptures. Turn back over to the Ephesian letter and the 6th chapter, and let's begin reading verse 10. Paul says, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand." I want to emphasize that word. That you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the best breastplate of righteousness. The word stand simply means to be steadfast. It means to be firm. Weak convictions, if that's what we have, if we don't have strong convictions, our weak convictions can be so easily compromised, and we'll find ourselves in sin. When I realize that I am lost in sin, and I desperately want to change that, I will begin to grow spiritually. And this leads to the next C. That is conversion. Conversion is a step in attaining spiritual maturity. Conversion is the result of conviction. It means to turn around, and it means to change. Go back over to the Acts chapter 2 again. And let's go down now to verse 37. They had heard Peter accuse them of crucifying the Son of God, and made a difference in their life, in their hearts. He said, now when they heard this, what Peter had said, they were cut to the heart, and said to Peter, the rest of the apostles, men and brethren, what shall we do? You go down to verse 41. Then those who were gladly received his word, Peter told them what to do. Repent, be baptized, every one of you, in the name of Jesus Christ, for the remission of your sins. Then those who gladly received his word were baptized, and that day about 3,000 souls were added to them. Now go to chapter 3. This is the second sermon that is recorded. Look to verse 19. Here's what Peter told them in that sermon. Repent, therefore, and be converted, that your sins may be blotted out, so that times of refreshing may come from the presence of the Lord. Now go down to chapter 4 and verse 4. How many of those who heard the word believed, and the number of men came to be about 5,000. They were converted. There was a great revolution in their life. There was a great change in their lives. That's what conversion is. And people, if our lives have not been changed, then we have not been converted. Go back to the Roman letter, Romans chapter 6. Let's begin reading at verse 1. Romans 6, verse 1 beginning. There were some, if you remember from our study from the book of Romans in Bible class. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin? Some are advocating that. Oh, grace is a wonderful thing, and it is. It'll cover sin, and it does. So in order to have more grace, let's commit more sin. Isn't that a crazy, or we might describe it as a crazy understanding or misunderstanding? So Paul said, no, that is not good. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Certainly not. How emphatic that is. Certainly not. How shall we who died to sin live any longer in it? Do you not know that as many of us as were baptized into Christ Jesus were baptized into his death? Therefore, we were buried with him through baptism into death, that just as Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life. I want you to notice there are three things at least that are emphasized in this passage. In verse 2, Paul says, we have died to sin. We have ceased to live in it. We have put it away from us. We have crucified it. Then in verse 4, he said, we were buried with him through baptism. And then in verse 4, he also says, we walk, having that, after being buried, after we have died to sin, after we have crucified that man of sin, after we have been buried in baptism and had our sins forgiven, we walk in newness of life. If you look, all of these things are involved in conversion. In 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and in verse 17, Paul wrote these words. He says, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. All things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. Isn't that a wonderful statement? It goes to the very root of our being. It goes to our heart. that self-centered life into a Christ-centered life. And conversion is continuous. And we will continue to be converted as long as we live, as long as we learn, as long as we grow in faith and in knowledge and in obedience. But when conversion stops, there's stagnation and there's death. The next C in spiritual growth is confirmation. Now, that's not some ritual that one goes through. There's no biblical authority for anything such as that. It simply means to make firm. It means to give additional strength, to be firmly established. It also has the idea of edification in teaching. We see that in the Great Commission. Turn over to Matthew chapter 28, beginning at verse 19. Very familiar with this, because it closes out this book. You find Jesus speaking. He says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them." It doesn't stop there. It doesn't end with baptism. Teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded you. And lo, I'm with you always, even to the end of the age. And then going back to the second chapter of the book of Acts, in verse 42, it says, "And they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine or teaching, and fellowship, in the breaking of bread, and in prayer." I have an idea that when it says they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine or teaching, it means that they were very, very eager to learn. You understand that new converts need cultivated. Well, they've been planted in the gospel, but they need to be cultivated. If they're left alone, they'll wither and they will die. So confirmation also continues as long as we live. Then the next C in spiritual growth and development is consecration. It's a word we hear occasionally. It means complete surrender. It means total commitment, wholehearted devotion. It means to dedicate. Have you ever remember hearing any time recently the term covenant obligation? If you don't say yes, no one's going to lock you over the head. So that's what he's been talking about for the last several weeks. I must realize that I have a covenant obligation. If I am willing to have the blood of Christ to cleanse my sins, then I have the obligation to God to live as He would have me to live. I'm in covenant relationship with God because of the death of Christ. So therefore, God has a right for me to do what He wants me to do. Over in the book of 1 Chronicles, very interesting passage of chapter 29, verse 1 beginning. In the first part of this passage, David was talking to the people who had assembled, talking to the assembly, and he began to tell them about all of the things that he had accumulated to be used in the construction of the temple. Oh, David wanted to build a temple, but God wouldn't let it. Why? Because he was a man of war. He was a man who had shed blood. The obligation and the responsibility and the privilege of building the temple fell to David's son Solomon. But he was telling these people all of the gold, all of the silver, all of the stones, the bronze, the brass, all of those things that he had brought together so that they could begin building the temple. Notice what he says in that part of verse 5. He says, "Who then is willing to consecrate himself this day to the Lord?" Who's willing to separate himself? Who's willing then to devote himself to the task that lies before us, for the purpose for which you've been separated? That is, building the temple. That word, consecrate, is an interesting word. I understand it literally means to fill the hand full. Now, I think that implies that the heart is filled first before we can fill the hand. So consecration would that not begin in the heart? Of course it does. again over in 2 Corinthians chapter 8, you remember there was people in Judea were hungry. They were starving to death because of the famine. And Paul wrote to several of the Gentile congregations to take up an offering for these poor saints in Jerusalem. And he said, I'm going to come and pick it up, and I'm going to deliver it. We're going to deliver it to the poor saints in Jerusalem. One of the churches of that, or several of the churches, I guess, that got one of these letters was churches of Macedonia. And I understand the churches of Macedonia were very, very poor themselves. But I want you to notice what Paul says as he's commending the churches of Macedonia for their liberality. In spite of their deep poverty, they did more than Paul expected. Paul expected maybe a little bit from them, but not nearly as much as they gave. Notice what he says in verse 5. He said, they gave not only as we had hoped, all for a little bit, better than nothing, but they first gave themselves to the Lord and then to us by the will of God. People, this is consecration. If we have consecration, there is no limit to what God can accomplish through us. But these people, you know, that is the key to Christianity, is it not? These people first gave themselves to the Lord. Now, if I'm selfish, I'm not going to give myself to the Lord. That's what Norm been talking about in the Bible class this morning. And am I trying to fool God by what I do? Am I trying to hold up my nose to God when He gives me things to do? I don't want to do those things. I'm going to do what I want to do. If that is my attitude, I'm not first giving myself to the Lord. I must do that, and then these other things will come. It's just like we read in Matthew 6, verse 33, like, seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness. These people were so concerned about what they were going to eat, and where they were going to live, and what they were going to wear. And they were told, seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and these things will be added to you. So if we will give ourselves to the Lord, then growing spiritually will come naturally. But if we're not willing to give ourselves to the Lord, we're never going to grow spiritually. But then the next step in spiritual growth is consummation. And that simply means to bring to completion or to carry to perfection. You know, it's not what we start, but what we finish that determines success. I can take you to my house and I can show you a dozen jobs that I started. And sometimes I'll finish them, sometimes I don't. I'll talk about that a little bit Wednesday night, the Lord willing. In John chapter 17 and in verse 4, Jesus here is praying to the Father. And He says, I have glorified you on the earth. Notice this. I have finished the work which you have given me to do. And we know what happened to Christ. But let's just suppose for a moment that He stopped. When He was tempted of the devil, after He had been in that wilderness for 40 days, He was hungry, and He came out and the devil began to tempt Him. And maybe if he could have had these thoughts running through His mind, what's He used? You know, why should I put up with all of this? I'm through. That's enough. I'm not going to do anymore. What if Jesus had stopped at His baptism? Well, we fulfilled all righteousness. I've done what my Father wants me to do, so that's it. What about when He was criticized? You know, we don't like to be criticized. We don't like for people to find fault with us, even though it might be justified. But what if He had stopped when the people began to criticize Him? Jesus was called all kinds of names. What if He had stopped and said, well, I'm not going to put up with that. It's just not worth it. What if Jesus had stopped when He was beaten, when He was whipped, and all of these other things? What if He had stopped when He was hanging on that cross? Well, if that had been the case, if He had stopped, He would not. He could not be the author and the finisher of our faith. Again, over 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 7, listen to what Paul writes. I have fought the good fight. And it was a fight, wasn't it? It was a fight to him. He says, I finished the race. I have kept the faith. People, we cannot win unless we run the course and we cross the finish line. Several years ago, I believe I might have been in a marathon they were having up in New York, and had a men and a women running. And this lady who did not start and who did not run the course somehow or other jumped in, and she crossed the finish line first. But they would not give the prize to her because they knew what she had done. So when living the Christian life, I'm going to have to run the course. I cannot take shortcuts. I cannot stop and rest. I cannot take an undue advantage. I cannot break the rules. I cannot do any of these things and be acceptable to God. I must run the course. And then I must run that course till I reach the finish line. If I don't cross that finish line, it accomplishes nothing. Again, we emphasize, baptism is not the end. Baptism is the beginning of the race. If we don't keep on running, if we don't run the course, if we don't cross that finish line, there's always the danger that we will not complete our lives as God would have us do. Remember just a few days ago, when we were looking at the book of Galatians, remember what Paul said in chapter 5 and verse 7? He says, you ran well. Well, you started the race, and you were doing a fine job of running that race. You had Jesus as what you were looking for, the goal, the aim at the finish line. What hindered you, though, from obeying the truth? Something had happened to these people. They were not running the course, and therefore they could not cross the finish line. So we need to be very careful that we don't give up, that we finish that race. And then the final C in spiritual growth is conclusion. All of the steps in Christian growth are essential. We cannot leave any of them out. Because you see, each one depends on the other. Each one strengthens all the others. If one is missing, it weakens all the others. And this is the process of spiritual growth. But in order for me to grow spiritually, I must be a Christian. I must take these steps that we've been talking about. Well, this morning, if you're not a Christian, you have to run the race. I implore you to begin the race today while you have the opportunity. Why wait tomorrow? We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So let me implore you, you know what the Bible teaches about becoming a Christian. You have to repent of your sins. You have to confess your faith in Christ, as the Ethiopian did. He confessed he was the Son of God. And you have to be buried in baptism, as your sins might be washed by the blood of Christ. And then you come, as we've already talked about, in a new life. You have a new beginning. Isn't that a wonderful thought? We can have a new beginning. But maybe you haven't begun this race. Or maybe you haven't run the course. Maybe you haven't stayed the course. Maybe something has come up to cause you to veer from that course. I hope you'll seriously consider that, if that is your case. Because if that is your case, then you can't reach the finish line. So maybe you have lost the determination to grow spiritually, the desire. If that is the case, won't you be restored to your first love? Get back on that course and run it and finish it so that you might reap the reward of everlasting life. If that is your case, well, again, you not repent of those things that you have done. Will you not confess your faults and pray to God that you might be forgiven? People, spiritual growth is the most important thing that we can do. And let us be sure that we are growing in a way that God would have us do. If you're subject to the invitation, please come. We stand.